I just want to tell you, don't stop grinding. Don't stop shining. Don't stop being you. You feel me? Life comes with a lot of lessons. Struggle builds character, though. It's always light at the end of the tunnel. Life is what you make it. Only you can control what goes on in your life. Only you can control what you're going to be in the end. You feel me?
Death of a woman whose body was found in a Kansas City, Missouri parking lot.
KBC 9's Krista Tatchell is learning more about her life from those who are devastated by her death.
Hours before she died, Kierra McGee FaceTimed her mom to show off her outfit for a birthday party. The next time her mom saw her face on that same screen, she was lifeless, and her friends didn't even know why. If you're new here, this is Crime Files, and every week we dig into cases like this one. Real people, real families left with real questions that deserve real answers. Before we go any further, do me a favor and hit subscribe, tap that bell, and drop a like. It genuinely helps get these stories in front of more people who might have information. And honestly, Kierra deserves for people to stick around and hear this all the way through. Now let's get into it. Let's start with who Kierra McGee actually was. Because before this became a headline, before it became a case number, she was somebody's entire world. Her parents, Belinda and Kenneth, describe her as a go-getter, a self-promoter in the best possible sense of that word, a music entertainer who was always chasing the next opportunity, always building something bigger than what came before it. Online, she went by Key, short for the line she used to open almost every single video she posted, Key to the City. It sounds like a small thing, just a catchphrase, but for the more than 20,000 people who followed her, it became who she was. She wasn't famous in the traditional red carpet sense of the word. She was Kansas City famous. The kind of famous where people recognize you pumping gas, where your name comes up at cookouts and family gatherings, where your energy fills up a room before you even open your mouth. That energy is exactly what her parents keep coming back to now that she's gone. Kenneth described her as someone who, if she wanted to do something, she just did it. No hesitation. No waiting around for permission or the perfect moment. Anything positive. Anything ambitious. She was already 3 steps ahead trying to make it happen. That kind of personality either intimidates people or it inspires them. And by every account from people who knew her, Kierra inspired people. Her mother, Belinda, put it in words that stuck with a lot of people who've heard this story. She said she didn't fully understand how much the city loved her daughter until the calls started coming in after her death. Not just from around Kansas City, either from Las Vegas, from Detroit, from St. Louis, from New York, people Belinda had never met in her life, reaching out because somehow, through a phone screen, Kierra had touched something in them. Here's the part of the story that's genuinely hard to sit with. Just hours before she died, Kierra was on FaceTime with her mom, and she was happy, not stressed, not worried, not in any kind of trouble that anyone could see. She was getting ready for a friend's birthday party, and she showed Belinda her outfit, probably spinning around, probably excited the way anyone gets excited before a night out with people they love. That's the last real moment they had together. A daughter proud of how she looked, a mother smiling on the other end of the call, neither of them having the slightest idea that in just a few hours, everything would change forever, because that's how Belinda found out something was wrong. Not from a police officer knocking on her door. Not from a phone call from a detective. It was a FaceTime call from Kierra's friends, and Belinda has described them as frantic, confused, staring at their phone, because Kierra wasn't waking up. Belinda has said she watched her daughter through that screen, lifeless, and she was in shock that this was happening to her baby. She rushed to the scene as fast as she could, and when she got there, she says she didn't see an ambulance. Not right away. Not the entire time she stood there. Try to sit with that for a second. You're a mother, your daughter's on the ground surrounded by people, and the help you expect to see, the help you're praying is already there, just isn't. So how does a night that starts with a birthday party outfit end with a mother standing over her daughter's body in a parking lot? That's where this story gets complicated. And that's where we need to slow down and walk through exactly what happened, because the details here raise a lot more questions than they answer. Here's what we know for certain, based on what Kansas City police have released. Just before 4 in the morning on Sunday, August 2nd, Officers were dispatched to the area of Independence Avenue and Van Brunt Boulevard after reports of gunfire in the area. At the exact same time, completely by coincidence, a Jackson County Sheriff's deputy happened to be nearby and heard the gunshots himself. He responded immediately, actually arriving on scene before the other officers got there. When he and the responding officers reached the location, they found a woman lying unresponsive in the parking lot of an O'Reilly Auto Parts store, right on the northwest corner of that intersection. That woman was Kierra McGee. EMS was called to the scene, and she was pronounced dead there in that parking lot. Now here's where this case takes a turn that's honestly unsettling. According to preliminary information released by police, Kierra had been in that parking lot with an unknown number of other people when one or more suspects opened fire. And this is the detail that really sticks with you. Detectives believe there could have been dozens of people present when the shooting happened. Not 2 or 3 potential witnesses that investigators need to track down. Potentially a few dozen people who were standing right there in that parking lot when gunshots rang out into the early morning air. Think about that for a second. A parking lot full of people, presumably out enjoying a Saturday night that rolled over into Sunday morning, laughing, talking, maybe some of them heading toward that same birthday party Kierra was on her way to. And then, in an instant, chaos. Gunfire cutting through all of it. People scattering in every direction. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos, Kierra McGee goes down and never gets back many potential witnesses. Aren't there more answers? That question has been sitting at the center of this case since day one. You'd think with dozens of people present, police would have a suspect in custody almost immediately. A name, a motive, something solid to build a case around. But as of the most recent updates available, no suspect information had been publicly released, and investigators have said the motive behind the shooting remains unclear. Homicide detectives and crime scene investigators spent hours canvassing that area, going business to business looking for witnesses, pulling surveillance footage from anywhere nearby that might have caught something on camera, trying to piece together what actually triggered the gunfire in the first place. This is where cases like this one get frustrating, and I think it's worth actually sitting in that frustration instead of rushing past it. Because somewhere in Kansas City right now, there are people who know exactly what happened that night. People who were standing in that parking lot. People who saw a face. People who heard an argument start or watched it escalate. Or maybe even recognized who it was that pulled the trigger. And for whatever reason, whether it's fear of retaliation, loyalty to someone involved, or a general distrust of police, that information hasn't made its way to investigators. At least not publicly. Kansas City police haven't stayed quiet about that frustration either. In the days following Kierra's death, a police spokesperson addressed whoever was responsible directly, saying investigators know who they're looking for, and demanding that person turn themselves in within 24 hours. That's a strong, direct statement. The kind of thing police typically don't say publicly unless they genuinely believe they're close to an answer. But knowing who someone is and getting them into custody are two very different things. And as far as public reporting shows at this point, there's been no confirmed arrest connected to Kierra's death. It's worth pulling back for a moment and looking at the bigger picture here too, because Kierra's death isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a much larger, much more painful pattern. Kansas City police have pointed out that arguments are currently the leading factor behind homicide in the city this year, accounting for 37 out of 75 total homicides in 2026 alone. Read that again. Nearly half of the homicides in Kansas City this year started as something that could have ended with a conversation, a walk away, a moment of restraint, and instead ended with someone dead. We don't know for certain that an argument is what led to Kierra's death specifically. Police haven't confirmed a motive in her case, but it's the pattern investigators are seeing play out across the city over and over again, and adds a heavy, uncomfortable layer of context to everything surrounding that night. What we're left with, at the end of all of this, is a woman who left her house excited to celebrate a friend's birthday, showing her mom her outfit over FaceTime, and who was gone before the sun even came up, and a community now left asking why. For Kierra's parents, the investigation almost feels secondary to something bigger, and that's making sure people remember who their daughter actually was. Belinda has said, in her own words, that she wants people to remember Kierra not just for how she died, but for how many lives she touched while she was here. Her music, her art, that infectious personality that earned her the nickname Key to the City in the first place. That's an incredibly hard thing for a grieving mother to hold on to, try to protect her daughter's legacy, while at the same time waiting, hoping, for a justice that hasn't come yet. Every single day that passes without an arrest is another day Belinda and Kenneth have to sit with the reality that whoever took their daughter from them is still out there, still walking around, still living a life that Kierra doesn't get to have anymore. And that brings up something worth sitting with as we close this one out. If detectives genuinely believe dozens of people were present that night, what does it say about a community when that many potential witnesses haven't come forward? Is it fear of retaliation? Is it a deeper, more systemic distrust of police? Or is it something even more complicated? Something tied to how normalized this kind of violence has quietly become in certain parts of the city, to the point where people almost expect not to get answers? There's another question worth asking, too. Kierra spent years building a following, building a name for herself as someone positive, someone who lifted up the people around her. Does that kind of visibility, that kind of public presence, ever make a person more vulnerable in ways we don't talk about enough? Or was this simply a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong moment, when violence broke out around her, completely disconnected from who she actually was as a person? And maybe the hardest question of all to sit with, how many other cases just like this one are sitting in Kansas City right now, waiting for the same kind of attention, the same kind of public pressure, the same kind of push toward justice that Kierra's case is finally starting to get? If this case affected you the way it affected all of us putting it together, do me a favor before you go. Hit like on this video, subscribe to Crime Files, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss it when updates come out on this investigation. Kierra McGee deserves to have her story told. And more than that, she deserves for the person responsible to be found and held accountable. If you have any information related to this case, please reach out to the Kansas City Police Department or the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline. Somebody out there knows exactly what happened in that parking lot that night. It's time for them to speak up.